Yes. Hi, good afternoon, Facebook family. Marty Colucci coming to you from Lisa's Care Connection. We have one of our favorite special guests with us today, Dr. Macie Smith. Hi, Macie.
How are you, Marty? Good to
Um,
see you.
Good to see you. I am thrilled to have you today to help us with some education, things we've been hearing just recently from caregivers, especially with the staying at home and not being so active.
Yeah.
Um, and so we're just really glad that you could join us today. Tell us
Well,
how you're doing.
doing well. I'm always happy to communicate and engage with Lisa's Care Connection and our host in our community of caregivers. But we've been doing pretty well over here. I got an 11-year-old. She's homeschooled and she does her own thing because I cannot do that math. My husband is an essential worker, so he goes to work every day. Thank you, Jesus. And we're just staying vigilant and
Okay,
practicing our hand washing and care protocol, and we just
good.
moving right along.
Well, we really wanted to find out, Dr. Macie, we've heard a lot of caregivers and just all of us in general talking about hydration. And, there's, obviously you don't want to end up at the hospital right now for anything. And so, can you just tell us really briefly why is hydration so important just to begin with?
So when we think about our bodies, and let me preface this, I'm Dr. Macie Smith, but I am not a medical doctor. I can't write a prescription or anything, but I'm an extension of any doctor's office, any dietitian, any nutrition. Being a gerontologist, we have to work in those medical type settings because of the vulnerability of our older adult population. But I'll say that with our bodies and all of our body is made up of 60% water. And so water retention and getting the adequate amount of water in our body is just as important as oxygen and the food that we eat. And so when people are depleting and they're going into dehydration, especially with our older population, it can actually wreak havoc on a person's body. I'll never forget, I had an individual client who had severe cognitive impairment, and she was dehydrated, and the staff did not recognize the signs of her dehydration. And so they just assumed she just wasn't feeling well and needed to eat more. And so what happened was she ended up in the hospital and passed away due to
Wow.
dehydration, because it absolutely, if it's not addressed, it affects the overall functioning of your body, your organs, your
Wow.
tissues, everything. So hydration, you said it, is absolutely important. It's necessary.
All right. So, what are some signs that either, especially our loved ones that maybe have a chronic illness and can't talk to us or can't share how they're feeling? What are some signs or symptoms that we should look for to if somebody is dehydrated or if ourselves are dehydrated?
True. Then that's a good question, Marty, because signs and symptoms look different on different people, but just some typical signs and symptoms that we see: not voiding, so not going to the bathroom, crying but not seeing any tears,
Okay.
disorientation, mood changes, skin, the elasticity in the skin, lack of elasticity. So if I were to pull up my skin, it
Right.
doesn't fall back down. It kind of like it tints. It's called tinting. It kind of
Okay.
tints. So those are some signs. You can see dry mouth, like maybe some white stuff in the middle of the mouth, different things of that nature. And you want to look at the side effects of the medications too. Think about our population. They have, when we think about it, over 80% has at least one chronic illness, 60% has two
Mhm.
chronic illnesses. And so we have to pay attention to the medications that they take. Some of the side effects of the medication causes dehydration. And
Okay.
like I know, when we think about the three P's, if you're taking a medication that makes
Yeah.
you pee, poop, or puke, it puts you at higher risk of dehydration. Our folks take that water pill. You know about that water pill, right?
I do. And I had never heard the three P's quite like that before. So thank you
Well,
for sharing that. Yes.
yeah, we shoot straight from the hip now. It's no
I
need to
know. I
sugarcoat
appreciate
anything.
that. You're right,
Yeah.
though. Absolutely. So, what are some ways um, to help us drink more water? I mean, I don't like plain water. It just doesn't taste good to me. I mean, I'll drink it because I have to, but as we age, we lose a lot of our taste. And so water is even tastes worse the older that I get. I know that.
Yeah. So I don't like water either. But as you just stated, cognitively, we know why we need to drink water and how healthy it is. My
Mhm.
11-year-old, she does not like to drink water. We don't like the taste of it because it has no taste, but we know it's good for our skin. We know it's
Right.
good for our muscles. We know it's good for our organs and everything. So we make a conscious effort to drink water. And I'll tell you, it's a mind thing. So I don't like water, but I know I have to drink it. So what I do is make a plan in my head. Number one, when I eat savory foods, I want to drink something sweet because that's like my dessert. But
Right.
then I eat dessert, so that kind of defeats the purpose. But we have a plan. But as we get older, especially the population that we work with cognitively, if they're to the point where they have early stage dementia or some mild cognitive impairment and they make the decision, they're like, I'm 95 years old. If I don't want to drink water, I don't have to drink water. Well,
Right.
that's true, but we have to consider the consequences of not drinking water. And so
Right.
it's really about hydration, right, Marty? So if the
Right.
person doesn't like to drink water, the very first thing I want caregivers to understand is that they should not force the person to
Mhm.
drink water. Let me do a little shameless plug. So I have all that written in my guidebook. Thank you all so
Ooh.
much for being some great supporters. And look, shout out to the Queen Goddess, Lisa Gibbons, for doing the back quote for this guidebook as a first start.
Because
You
she loves
wanna
you.
I love y'all. So you want to be sure you have open communication and proper communication, right?
Mhm.
So you can't say, honey, you need to drink this 8-ounce glass of water with no taste. I know you don't like it. It's not going to make you feel
Right.
good.
Mhm.
They're not going to do it. However, they enjoy eating, right?
Mhm.
So a lot of our foods, and we're talking about, Marty, at least 20 food items are rich in water. So they have water retention in the foods, fruit, and also vegetables. Guess what fruit has the most water retention? I just said
Um,
part of it is in the name. Water melon.
watermelon.
Watermelon. Woo! Marty for the win. So we think about watermelon, and these are the top three that are in 90% water retention. Watermelon, strawberry,
Mhm.
cantaloupe. They all have like 90%
Wow,
water retention.
that much.
That much water retention, and then comes peaches and oranges, and so you're getting hydration from the fruit, but you're also getting your antioxidants and your vitamins. Then we look at the
Absolutely.
vegetables. Celery,
Mhm.
cauliflower, I don't like that, but it's, you can eat it. Tomatoes, green peppers, skim milk, ice cream. So food, if they enjoy eating, and typically they do enjoy eating sweet things, water is there. Jello, anything that has like a consistent water base, that is still hydration. It doesn't have to be water. You can do flavored water, but then you want to be careful with the flavored water, Marty. And
Mhm.
y'all shared this out too on your Lisa's Care Connection page. When we think about what type of sweetener is in that water, if
Right.
it's like artificial sweetener like aspartame and sucralose,
Mhm.
studies support that has been linked to cognitive impairment, Alzheimer's, and dementia. So you
Right.
definitely want to, look at that. I don't drink anything with artificial sweetener. I do drink
Okay.
stuff with sugar, but in
Yeah.
moderation. So those are just some tips to put out there. Don't force it, but
Mhm.
just look at what they do without an issue.
Right.
If there are no challenges to them eating, then incorporate that. I had
Okay.
one individual who would only take her medication with water, right?
Mhm.
Because she felt as if other things would interfere with the effectiveness of the medication. So we knew that she drank water with her pills. So we gave her an adequate amount of
Right.
water to take with her pills that she takes 3 times a day.
Is there a certain, and I know probably the answer before I ask the question, but as far as amounts of water, what is realistic? Is there a safe number that we should stay at, almost like a goal for the day? And I assume you're probably going to say that has to do with individual people, but um,
Yeah.
is there any kind of goal for? for that?
Well, typically on a regular amount, when we look at that, what is it like? How many 8 ounces? Like it's extra. Gosh,
I think we're
whatever it is, I don't get it in actual
I think
water, but
it's
it's
six,
six,
8 ounces or
six 8 ounce glasses. Yeah, it's 6 8 ounce glasses of water per
mhm,
day on average. But you pose a great question because that may not be consistent for everybody, especially
right.
as we get older. I had a client who had a condition, and I want to make sure I pronounce this condition right. She had hyponatremia. So and that was the first I've ever heard of. It was about 15 years ago. Hyponatremia. She drank too much water. She was
Wow.
overhydrated. And so when she was overhydrated, she actually experienced water intoxication. I don't know if you heard of
Mm,
this before, but some people have died from
right.
too much water. And so
At one
she had
time, right.
at one time, she had the hyponatremia. And so what was happening was the side effects of her medication was causing dehydration. So she was extremely thirsty.
Mhm,
So she could not really put a cap on how much she drank because of her cognitive impairment. So she was depleting the sodium and the other electrolytes in the body to
mhm,
balance. And so the sodium became dangerously low and it put her
mhm,
in a medical crisis. And so you definitely want to talk with your individual doctor about your
mhm,
hydration levels. Typically, as you stated, 6 8 ounce glasses of water per day, but that may be too much for you. But as long as
mhm,
you're appropriately hydrated and look for those signs and symptoms, it's very important to understand what happens when that individual may be dehydrated.
mhm, mhm. Talk to us a little bit about urinary tract infections. I know that kind of goes along as far as a lot of the similar symptoms um, is what we look at when maybe our loved one starts all of a sudden acting out or maybe sleeping too much, or when we see some pretty major quick changes. I think
Yeah,
UTI and dehydration almost go hand in hand. We see them
they
about
do.
the same amount of times.
Yeah, they're cousins. They're first cousins. That's
That's
just
what
like
I figured.
anxiety and depression are first cousins. Urinary tract infections and dehydration, they're first cousins too. Because when you think about it, if the person is dehydrated, then they're not avoiding, they're not peeing.
Mhm,
And so they're not, cleansing their system. Whatever is in there. And so it definitely does go hand in hand because they're not getting the hydration enough to go to the bathroom. And the first thing we typically see is that major personality change. And so what happens
mhm.
is family members or individuals working with the population don't recognize it as a medical condition.
Right.
They look at it as if it's a behavioral condition
Behavior.
and
Sure.
they begin to address it behaviorally as opposed to medically. And so what
Mhm,
happens is they get even more dehydrated. The
mhm,
infection becomes even more pervasive and more intensive. And so the behaviors become more intensive. Then the family members or the staff take the person to the emergency room. And as you stated,
mhm,
you don't need to go to the emergency room unless you absolutely have to, especially now. If it's an emergency, you definitely want to get there. And so when that person gets to the hospital, the hospitalist who doesn't know that person is seeing what? The behaviors. And so it's so vitally important for us to
mhm,
consider medical before behavioral. And so
mhm.
the personality changes is what we typically see first. And then you want to consider, when you start thinking about it, are they going to the bathroom? When was the last time they voided? How much did they
Mhm.
void? Are they disoriented? Are they extremely confused? And so absolutely it does go
Mhm.
hand in hand.
I love what you said, Macie, about look at the behavior, look at it medically before you look at the behavior,
Right.
and what the difference is there. Because we immediately go to the behavior and try to fix the behavior when we haven't looked at it from a medical thought process. I really
Right.
like that.
Of course, because when you think about it behaviorally, you're not addressing what's causing the behavior. A
Sure.
behavior is response to stimuli. We all respond to stimuli. And so when we behave a certain way or we say certain things or we respond a certain way, it's in response to something. So
Mhm.
what's what's triggering that? What are the triggers? And so we have to really reshape our mindset and how we view people and their responses. And what I typically like to do is put myself in their shoes and say, okay, if I all of a sudden started cursing people out, and I really don't know how to curse that well, but you see me cursing and you're like, okay, Macie has lost her mind. Something is going on. Right. So we need to say, okay, what's triggering that? What's causing that? And not just looking at the person's condition before looking at the person.
I love that. And really kind of in closing, Macie, I want, and you can elaborate on this, as one of the things I remember from your book is when you were trying to get your mom to drink or something, maybe it was your grandmother, I mean, you were talking about having a party, right? Yeah. Like having a drinking party. So instead of saying you need to drink this, how about let's have a drink together? And exactly. That sounds more sophisticated. It sounds more
adult-like.
Yeah, like we're just having a big time rather than making it more of an event. And you can have a drink together several times a day, right?
That's exactly right. So that's a perfect way to end, Marty. When you present the information, it's all about how you present the information. If you're presenting this task as an enjoyable event, as opposed to a job or something you have to do or a command, it'll be more inviting because they're doing something that they're accustomed to doing, and they're doing it with someone else, and nobody's standing over them while they drink the 6 glasses of 8 ounces of water.
I know we probably just made that up today. So if anybody,
no, that's right. 6 because I say if I drink 3 bottles of water, I would have exceeded my goal. So that's like 2 4, and each bottle is a little more than 2. So I'm gonna tell you, I don't like drinking water, but I do drink water, and I do eat a lot of fruit.
Right. Well, but how fun would it be to even have those cute little glasses and put a little brew on it, and and that be your go-to. And if you go to that 3 times a day,
at least
half your water down, not even including your food. And
that's exactly right.
With your meals.
And they like to snack throughout the day. So why not have, like you stated, the cute little glasses, the nice china, the nice dishes? That is exciting. That's an excellent point. It keeps you motivated. And eating and drinking is therapeutic. I mean, I know think about the quarantine 15.
Yeah.
Before we go, I need to say this to you, Marty and Kina. If you have not heard this yet today, and if you have not heard this over the last couple of months, thank you. You and Kina are frontline heroes. I'm gonna tell you, y'all have not missed a beat. The support that you all have pivoted, the support that you give our family caregivers who are at home isolated with loved ones is invaluable. When I say that you all pivoted from a face-to-face in-person platform to a completely virtual platform, man, I commend you. I am so happy to be a part of your team, and I thank you. I love y'all, and the support that you provide is immeasurable.
Macie, I can't say a word except thank you.
That's all you need to say, and keep doing what you've been doing. I am truly touched. And I'm very impressed with y'all's growth. I tell you that all the time. Keep doing it, girl.
Thank you, Macie. I should have worn some big old high heels for you today. I know how that impresses you too.
It does impress me, but we'll wait until we get together, and we'll do that.
We'll do that. Well, thank you for joining us today. You are just a bright spot in our day, in our center. We appreciate what you do for the seniors in our community. And to all you Facebook fans, we'll have her back again, and you can come on and watch this a few more times. Y'all have a great day.
Marty.
Thanks, Macie. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.